Hi guys, Mike back again with part 3 of this Storm Eagle gunship build. We have started gluing. So the first bit is to glue up the engines. So we've got a left and a right engine, and you use the resin piece, and then you use the plastic components from the Storm Raven to complete the engine. Like I say, you've got a left side and a right side. So then we need to attach these according to the instructions, attach these to the fuselage, to the left and right fuselage. Each one goes on in the correct orientation, and you'll notice, and it doesn't necessarily say this on the instructions, they're not that clear, but you've got some indentations here, and you've got a flat bit on the back of the fuselage where everything else is kind of detailed. So this is what needs to get stuck onto these sections basically. Not sure if I've got the right one here. No, it's the wrong one. So I mean, they obviously fit or not, as the case may be. So once you've got it lined up, you've got your two little notches there and your flat bit, and that is just going to get glued in like that. Just making sure that it's a decent fit, which it is. I mean, there's some gappage slightly there. I use super glue to glue the plastic components to the resin, and they're absolutely fine. But I think I will use epoxy just to glue this on, because it's quite a heavy bit of resin and I don't want it moving anywhere. So they can that can get glued on. The next bit then is kind of fettling this, but I want to straighten this out before I start gluing things to it, or straighten it out anyway. So those of you that aren't familiar with straightening resin or de-warping, unwarping resin, I've got a tub of boiling hot water here. This is basically straight out of the kettle, and you can put your piece in. You can see it steaming, eh? Like I said, I think I've said in a previous video, don't put your hands in the water. Get a pair of pliers to get your piece of resin out, because you're going to burn yourself, clearly. All our other bits here are kind of getting dry now. They're pretty much dry, which is good. Let's move this out of the way. And we'll put our... I've got another tub of cold water here. This is just cold water out the tap. Again, it doesn't need long. These long flat bits here don't need long at all in the hot water. And you'll see, those of you that are, ooh, that is warm. Those of you that aren't familiar with it will see that it becomes completely pliable. So I mean, pretty much, I reckon we'll be able to just leave it on a flat surface, and it'll kind of just right itself. I mean, I think the resin components want to go back to, because I mean, originally it was flat, it was cast flat, and it's bent out of shape when it's been removed from the mold, and I think it wants to go back into its natural shape. So while we've got the boiling hot water there, we'll chuck the other side in. And again, take your time. I mean, it's just part of the hobby process, basically. Just realised that this tub of cold water is not big enough to put this in. But yeah, I mean, it's going to take a little bit of fettling and a bit of play with it just to get it right, I think. But when you've got it right, you can submerge it into cold water. And again, if it's not right the first time, you can just chuck it back in the boiling hot water again. And putting it in the cold water, it'll make it go solid. So still got a little kink in it there, but you know, we're getting there. We're getting there with that one. And just dump him out there. And again, ouch. So it's just getting it completely flat, or trying to, getting it as best you can. So you're happy with it. I think this one's going to go back in. And again, I think I'm favouring just putting it on a completely flat surface and pushing it flat, just to kind of get it flat, because it's warped on multiple dimensions. It's sort of warped in the three-dimensional states, and this floor is warped this way, and you know, so that's warped too. So we're just gonna keep playing with it really until it kind of becomes back into the shape we want it to be. So I'm going to mess about with this for a bit, and I'll catch you on the next section of this video. Okay guys, and we're back. We've done a bit of building, bit of fettling, bit of gluing, and we are getting there, kind of. Done some work on the left and right fuselage sections. I've glued the thrusters in, and there's a retaining piece back here, and some consoles on the inside of the fuselage. Obviously the plastic pieces from the Storm Raven that you get with the kit. On the Storm Raven, these thrusters, you've got one on each side of the fuselage and one in each of the wings, and they kind of clip into the Storm Raven because it's all plastic on plastic, and they move, they do swivel. On this bit, on these, I found it really difficult to get them to swivel. It doesn't really fit in properly, so I have glued them in place, but you know, there's not that huge amount of movement in them anyway. Just noticed that this is dingy. I need to put that back in water and straighten that back out. So what we're up to is that we've straightened up the base of the model, and we're just basically going to glue it in place. So the fit is pretty good. It's taken about 20 minutes, 25 minutes to get that fit good. So what I'm going to do is glue this in, get it in glued with epoxy, leave it for, you know, and then sort of work on the other side. So I'm not kind of trying to glue two halves together at the same side. When you are gluing it up, remember to put the door in. I was trying to fit this as the front door, but this is the back door of the ship. So we've got sprue here. That's the back door of the Storm Raven, and this is the rear door for the Storm Eagle. So it is quite a bit bigger. But just being mindful that the front door is actually plastic. I did have to drill the holes out slightly because it didn't fit. So there's me trying to fit this door, and I'm like, what's going on there? Obviously you realise quite quickly that's the wrong door. And it does say in the instructions, to be fair, when you look at it, it is part 7, and when you look on your components here, where's part 7? There isn't one. So part 7 is actually part 7 on the plastic sprues. So anyway, so I had to drill the holes out slightly, so this now fits in there. Again, fettling on the front there, and so that's gonna go something like that. Anyway, so I'm gonna mess with that, and when we come back next, all of this should be glued up, but we'll see. Okay, so guys, back again. Spent quite a long time fettling and working on the hull of the Storm Eagle. It's hang on a minute. Just got a load of dust all over it. Yeah, it took quite some doing actually. The panels were really warped in all dimensions. They even warped into the 5th dimension. I'm sure it was. They're all over the shop. So I think I finally got it. The key with this thing is I glued one side of the fuselage on to the base first. Got that kind of straight and level, and then glued the other side on. But at the same time was trying to fit the top, and it just wasn't having it. It was too warped to fit nicely. So I basically glued the two sides of the fuselage on, and then let the glue go off, let the epoxy dry, and then fit the top of the fuselage for a good fit, which I think we've got. So I'll show you the underside. So the underside's looking pretty nice. Did have a load of glue mine spillage, so I've used some sandpaper just to clean all that up. And I had some gappage here. So again, just use some putty to fill that. So that's that. Obviously remembering to put the hatch in, but I've got a beautiful fit now on the top of the fuselage. Really nice fit, he says. There we go. So there we go, no gapping at all here. the door does shut flush once it's all kind of pushed together and glued. But yeah, nice nice fit around the top. So there we go. And then we've got the rear of the top fuselage just goes in like that. So, and then need some fettling around the rear. So it's kind of, it really is kind of working your way around the model, just kind of making sure things fit, gluing it up, and then moving on to the next bit just to make sure it's all kind of straight and true. But yeah, really pleased with that so far. It's looking pretty good. So that's it. I'm going to do a bit more work on this now. I'm going to let it all dry now and let the putty go off and stuff, and just move on to the next bit, which is basically fitting this. I'm not sure whether I'm going to have this removable or not, because the fit is so nice. I might have this as a removable piece, but we'll see. I don't know yet. Anyway, that's it for me for this one, and I'll catch you on the next video. Cheers, guys.